We're gonna start this off with our first interview, man. We're gonna bring the homie Kaz in, man. Kaz, what's going on, bro?
I'm doing all right, man. I appreciate you having me on the show. Proud of the growth, you know what I mean? I
Thank
feel
you.
like we've known each other for a minute. We should have been did this, but I appreciate you
Yeah.
having me on right now, man. Thank you.
Well, you came on to the show last year when it was just me, and I decided I need to spike some things up a little bit, man. I feel like there's a little bit more entertaining way you can do things, and so I feel like this. We've only been a couple weeks into this thing, but we getting some good traction, man. So I definitely want to get you on and just talk some sports, man. So before we get everything, for people who are not familiar with you, you have a long list of stuff you do. You work with MSG Networks. You do the Knicks coverage over there. Or you have your own podcast, Say Less with Cass, with you, Low Key, Rosie. You do stuff with the Ring of Wrestling, your show on Points Bet USA. Did I forget anything?
WWE Ultimate on Peacock. You can catch
WWE,
me on
yeah,
there. I think that's about it. I think that covers most of it. Wale Mania curator.
Wale Mania.
Um, Planning that whole thing out for the next few months. But I stay busy. And I heard what you said about people not being down with foolishness because they have like kids and they married and stuff. I am the same way, and I'm still down for the foolishness. So I presented that statement. I was like, wait a minute. What am I doing wrong right now? But it all worked out.
We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, man. We have three married people in here today. It was you, Bang, and Damien. Me and Dante are like what's the new Drake song? Search and Rescue. That's us right now. So we glad that you take your time on here to join us, man. But it's been a crazy week in the NFL. When I mean by crazy, I mean it's more specifically the team that I cover on 1920 football drive. I just want to know from an outsider's perspective, what you think about the mess that's been going on with the Bears. I know how Bears fans feel. What tell me what you were thinking when all this news was just simultaneously breaking.
So you gotta understand, right? Your news broke maybe 24 hours after, 24 to 36 hours after watching Zach Wilson and the Jets, stinking up against Dallas Cowboys, Giants losing, you know what I mean? So it's been rough for New York football fans because, we thought this year was going to be a real, and it still has a chance to be a really solid year. But I'll be honest, like, as soon as all that Bear stuff was happening, I was like, thank God that's not happening here, yo. It can always be worse. It can always be worse, yo. Like, I'm thinking of, obviously Aaron Rodgers injured for the year, talking about doing some experimental Achilles treatment, trying to come back for the playoffs, which sounds nuts, but that's like my glimmer of hope that I'm holding on to. I'm watching Daniel Jones and, that terrible O-line getting absolutely manhandled against the San Francisco 49ers last night, which is terrible. But yet again, as I'm watching that in the back of my head, I'm like, we don't look as bad as the Chicago Bears right now, bro.
Yeah.
Because amongst all that, I put out a tweet like right after the first slate of games on Sunday, and I asked specifically Chicago people because I'm a Justin Fields fan. I thought, it was between him and Zach Wilson. I'm like, man, I would love to have him in New York, but he ended up in Chicago Bears. So I asked Chicago fans, is it really not on Justin Fields right now, or what's really going on? Because I couldn't, I'm on red zone. I can't see every single down. And I asked something similar to that last year, and everybody kind of put me on game. Like, listen, the coaching is terrible. They ain't really got no offensive firepower. And all the rules like that Mike Greenberg always talks about, how franchises ruin quarterbacks more than they make good ones, was starting to come true. But anybody I talked to said it's not really on Justin Fields because he still looks like he has a ton of talent and does all this other stuff. When I asked this past Sunday, it was the first time I heard mad people just like, nah, Justin Fields might be trash, yo. and for a second, I thought this is just emotional people on a Sunday after your team loses and you're just being hyperbolic and all that type of stuff. But then, was it Monday or Tuesday happens, and he's in front of the press pretty much throwing his coaches under the bus. And I was just like, damn, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, as bad as it is, bro, like, you can't ever do that. So even though it was a mistake and he owned it and he came back later and said, whatever, He'll take the blame for everything. It feels like the damage was kind of already done. And as a quarterback, bro, like you kind of got to be a politician, man. Like I've seen enough terrible quarterback play to last me 3 lifetimes.
Man, you and me both.
and for all those terrible quarterbacks that I've seen, it's very rare that you hear any of those quarterbacks just pretty much flat out say the coaches are keeping me from playing the game that I want to play. Yeah. You just don't do that. Even if it's true, you're not even really supposed to say that. So I would say from the outside looking in, I'm very much on the side of it could always be worse. At least my team isn't the Chicago Bears right now. You got people breaking into your facilities, stealing lawnmowers and
lawnmowers.
It's all bad over there.
Like the funny thing about it, and I'll do like a full breakdown, later on. But like the thing for me is like I was there, so like the craziness, like. I really felt like Ian Rappaport on Wednesday, honestly. Like when my phone was blowing up. Like it was crazy. I had to legit put it on like D&D, like for the entirety of the time I was out, because it was just one thing after another. And when Justin came to the podium and said that, and I forgot who asked the question. I think it was my man Jason Leeser from Chicago Tribune. I think he asked a question to Justin that had him say coaching. And when he said that, I looked around like, I'm not. Did I hear that correctly? Like I don't want to misquote him, and then he get mad at me or something. Yeah. So I was like, nah, he said coaching. So I immediately sent it out on the 7 Night the Howlers page. Everybody else sent it out, and it just felt like he was cutting a Tupac Picture Me Rolling type promo. And so I'm like, okay, he's really doing this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I knew something was fishy when he addressed the media first before Coach Flus, because it's usually Flus, then it's Justin. And so I was like, okay, something is up today. And so when we did locker room, like it was just weird stuff all day. I heard somebody's breaking in. I'm like, look, I've been here since 9:30. I ain't seen no FBI. I ain't seen no police, nothing. Trust me, I'd have seen them pulling up in here. So that was crazy. And then when the second interview that pulled up, and by the way, Elon, I need my money because my Just Feel video got 1 million views. So I need my check. I need my Elon bucks. But when he came and did that, we went to the locker room and we got Bears PR was like, Justin want to talk to y'all. So I'm like that Drewski gift. I'm like, me? Like, you talking about me? So then it's like, oh, he got the call from the higher ups because we did not misquote him whatsoever. So it's like all this stuff going on. I didn't really get to see the reaction from everybody else who weren't Bears fans because I wasn't on Twitter at the time. So it was real interesting to see hear your take on it, man. But let's talk about the Jets. The Jets are a team that came into this year a lot of hype, rightfully so. When you get like Aaron, nobody knows more than me what kind of guy, what he's capable of. And to me, I felt on paper they had the best team that he's had in a long time, maybe since that 2014 Packers team. And to have it go down the way it went down, I said this week, we put out a TikTok or whatever. I was like, look, I feel bad for Jets fans. I don't have it in me to be sad for Aaron Rodgers. I don't laugh at injuries. I don't. I do not laugh at injuries, but I just couldn't feel bad for him. But I feel bad for Jets fans. I got a lot of Jets homies. What do you feel about, like what happened? Like what went through your head when that happened? Because I kind of feel like it was a movie. You had all the athletes there, all the celebrities, and it just happened real quick. What did you feel in that time, and what do you think the rest of the season can go even without Aaron?
So I live in Jersey. I live literally like a stone's throw away from MetLife Stadium, and I was so not just hyped up for that game. You gotta understand, I'm watching the Hard Knocks every week, getting this Jets fan dopamine pumped into my system every single week. And as an adult, I've never had this much optimism for a Jets season in my life. Probably the closest I've came to it was the Rex Ryan, Mark Sanchez, Darrelle Revis, LaDainian Tomlinson Jets that, Bart Scott teams that was put together that, almost took it to the AFC East and went to the AFC Championship. So when I tell you the culmination of my Jets fandom, like it crescendoed at number 8, running down that tunnel, waving the American flag on September 11th. Mind you, I'm not even used to seeing Jets games in prime time, right? Like I didn't even recognize my own stadium. I'm like, this is what it looks like at night. this is what y'all used to. Y'all just get nighttime football all the time. Like, we don't get that. Like, it was just a rare thing. So everything, I'm like, oh my God, it's really happening. Like, the Jets are actually going to be a team to. I'm not crazy to just say, oh, it's going to be Super Bowl or bust. But I'm like, the Jets are going to be playing meaningful football for most of the fall. I can at least guarantee that. And to not even get that is the epitome of just knowing when your team is cursed, especially at the quarterback position. Like, the Vinny Testaverde torn Achilles was a little bit before my time, but it definitely helped me remember just all the people that were just not Jets fans when I was a kid, because stuff like that would happen to the Jets all the time. But me, I became a Jets fan around the Herm Edwards era when I was like, oh, this is my guy. Black head coach talking that shit.
You play to win the game.
Play to win the game. I'm like, yo, I like him. I'm a ride with this dude. So I was Jets fan since then. So it doesn't take a whole lot of research to know we haven't had a whole lot of success since then. So now when you're watching weeks full of Hard Knocks, you're seeing how loaded the team was. And not that they're still not loaded. I mean, Dalvin Cook's still there. Breece Hall looked healthy as hell. Sauce is going to be Sauce. CJ Mosley, Quentin Williams, Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard. They're still pretty loaded. But, it all circles around number 8 or number 12 to you guys. And it's just sad, man. Like, it's you got to understand, New York sports in general, I feel like, was sold a bag of goods that just weren't good this year, right? Like, you got to remember the Mets and the Yankees was coming in super hyped up. Re-signed Judge.
Both flamed out.
Yankees are gonna flame out. Mets spend $1 zillion in salary cap, all that stuff. Signing these guys, flame out. Giants and Jets, all right. Giants had a little surprising run. They're gonna go in there and at least be solid. Outside of one half against the worst team in football, they've looked terrible.
Which the call was made in Arizona. Somebody's like, "Did y'all see Caleb this weekend?"
Exactly.
Cut that out.
I said, people was like, "Oh, you got to hear the halftime speech that they gave Daniel Jones at halftime." I'm like, no, you got to hear the halftime speech that the Arizona Cardinals owner said. Pretty much saying like, "Yo, if y'all want to be bounced out 1-0 next weekend, you better cut the shit."
Exactly.
And the Jets, unfortunately. So I mean, I don't think this season's lost. I still feel like, you went up against the Buffalo Bills and the Dallas Cowboys. Those first 6 games for the Jets are going to be tough games regardless, even with Aaron Rodgers. And the fact is they got 1 out of 2 of them already. So, it's maybe this is my Jets optimism still speaking for itself. Obviously, it comes down when you don't have Aaron Rodgers, but I still believe in that defense. And I still think, you get the ball to Breece Hall and seeing – how good he looked in game 1 and the lack of touches he got in game 2. You can only imagine what he's going to try and get against New England Patriots this Sunday. And Garrett Wilson, I mean, it just feels like if you get him the ball in space, he's going to score one way or another. So he's a stud. So, it's rough, man. It's rough out here. I know you don't have it in you to feel bad for Aaron Rodgers, but
I don't.
I appreciate you. I appreciate this.
I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you and all my other Jets homies. I just can't do it for that. I want to bring the rest of the guys in for the next couple topics, man. A lot of NBA news is starting to heat up on the timeline. We all know that we're probably like about a month away from the start of the season, actually. And the thing that's standing out is the Dame Lillard thing right now. It's the big thing heating up. And I will say this, I'm not a source guy, but anybody knows, when it comes to Dame stuff, I would say today that I was told that even though Woj disagrees with it, I just watched the Woj video. I'm not a breaking news guy, so I'm just telling you what I've been told, that there will be a trade imminent soon with Damian Lillard going to Miami, and that they're hoping that this might be done before media day, before training camp. So that's what I've been hearing. I've been right before, I've been wrong before, so don't quote me here. But Kaz, what do you feel about this Damian Lillard thing, and really just like the start of this upcoming NBA season? I kind of feel like it, to me at least, doesn't feel like it's as much hype as usual.
I would say about the Damian Lillard situation, I think, whether it's right or wrong, it definitely seems like some strategic agent, tomfoolery happening right now, when it's like, all right, do you really want this to drag out into the training camp where you got awkward practices and you got awkward interviews and Dame Lillard not saying anything to you? Do you really want to do this the ugly way, the hard way, where one of the most beloved players in your entire franchise is sitting there completely pissed off that he's still there? Or do you want to get this deal done? So seems to me, I know you're not a source guy, but I know plenty of source guys, and I know plenty of agents that I know when they just pepper those things in to be like, hey, we're trying to get this done. They're hopeful to get this done. But at the end of the day, man, they're right. I don't think the Blazers want to deal with, any situation where they would have Dame Lillard looking like a malcontent at training camp. And the Miami Heat have been holding steady for a long time to, make this deal official. Now, for a while, there was a lot of free agents out there that I believe would have helped fill out the roster that the Miami Heat was going to hope to yield this season when you give up a lot of assets to get a player like Dame Lillard. But, Kelly Oubre just came off the board, like a bunch of other guys like Christian Wood, all these dudes that I just figured would be easy fits in Miami once you trade for Dame Lillard and sign them for, sign these guys on minimums or whatever. It would make the most sense, but they're all finding new homes. So I'm not necessarily sure, man. Like, I'm a Knicks fan, man. I was here when it was this time last year when I was here, and Donovan Mitchell's going to be a Knick in the next 48 hours, 72 hours, and then he wasn't, right? So I wouldn't necessarily pay so much attention to what the Heat and the Blazers are doing. I was paying attention to the other free agents and realizing you have the same problem at the beginning of training camp that you did at the end of the regular season. You don't have players or picks that the Portland Trail Blazers want. If they had that stuff, they would have made this trade a while ago because they drafted Scoot Henderson. They love Shaedon Sharpe. They love Anthony Simons. They want to start that rebuild as soon as they possibly can. But I think Dame Lillard, for all the good things he's done as far as being loyal to the franchise, kind of played himself when he went out and said, I want to be traded and want to go specifically
to Miami.
Right? So, he kind of put himself in a situation which is unfortunate because he's been wildly loyal to that place, even though he probably shouldn't have. But it wouldn't surprise me if Dame Lillard was traded, but not to Miami. Like, I think there's going to be another team, just like the Cleveland Cavaliers last year, who's going to swoop in and shut NBA Twitter down for the next 48 hours. And we're going to have Miami Heat jokes, we're going to have Blazers jokes, we're going to have whatever team that lands Dame Lillard jokes that happens later, and then we'll see how it goes. But like you said, Scott, I've been wrong before, I've been right before. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens. I think that's the number one thing about the NBA to me is like it's always the I guess like the trades and the signings will kind of get things up and going before the actual season starts, man. But I want to bring a Bang. I know you want, this is our resident WWE guy, right? JR Bang. You can check out.
I know Bang, man. Yeah. Come on, bro. Come on, we go back, man.
I had no idea. My fault. I was not aware.
Oh, you the one who hooked us up. We had the interview at Windy City Underground.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Man. That was a minute ago.
It was a minute ago.
That's right. That is right.
Why y'all like? Why it seems like, especially you, Scott, y'all love when I talk about the Rock and COINTELPRO.
Because it's a real conversation that I didn't think about till you brought up on the podcast.
Now you gotta bring me up to speed. What is that? What do you mean? What are you talking about that?
So let me bring y'all up to speed, man. So the Rock is COINTELPRO. All right, and I'll make this real quick and simple, right? And I'm not talking about Dwayne Johnson. I'm talking about Rocky Maivia, who turned to the Rock, and he's going to do all of this. So y'all remember when the Rock came into the WWF? Say F right now. Kaz, okay. You can't say F. I can say F. All right, you can say F. All right, cool. All right, so the Rocky Maivia comes in there. He comes in there with the lineage of his daddy and his granddaddy. Got the little curly hair and shit. And he wins the Intercontinental Championship. But the folks end up not liking him. They're talking about Die Rocky Die and all of that. And Rock got to figure some shit out. All right? So what does The Rock do? The Rock goes to the Nation of Domination. Now, the key here is Nation of Domination. Because when he got there, that was the Nation of Domination. Gets there. He starts getting in with the crew and shit. Then all of a sudden, him and Farouk start butting heads. Why? Why would him and Farouk start butting heads? Because he wants to be the leader, all right? So he becomes the leader. He removes Farouk out the group. And let's look what happens to the group right after he leaves. One becomes a pimp. One becomes a sex-crazed maniac. And one is all of a sudden from Istanbul, Turkey. He's from all of Europe. They even bring in a white guy. All right.
A guy rest in peace of that white guy.
Right, and rest in peace of that white guy. He was a great white guy. He was a cold white guy, but he's an all-time white guy, but he's a white guy nonetheless. All right. Now, with that being said, the group ends up splintering, just like the Black Panthers. And what does The Rock do? He becomes the champion damn near right after the breakup. But how does he become the champion? He teams up with the corporate team. Ladies and gentlemen, The Rock was COINTELPRO. Nobody in the WWE want to talk about that shit. But I truly believe, you can't tell me, nothing different. All right? This was long-term storytelling. Long-term storytelling. Vince and them was like, hey, Black Panthers, y'all saw what happened. Only thing that never came out was who was Hoover. But we know who was a part of COINTELPRO. And that was Rocky Maivia, ladies and gentlemen. And he profited off of it, just like a number of black folks who infiltrated black organizations.
Bang, I know. I'm
about to say, you don't got your.
It was Patterson.
Yeah, you left something, King. Wait, this is why I wanted to bring this back up, because last weekend, of course, Dion bringing the hood to Boulder. Every week we see new niggas popping up. He brought the Rock. And so what made me laugh about it, I saw a video on Twitter where, when Dion brought out his moms, he brought out The Rock to talk to the team before the game. And somebody was like, look at The Rock, his brain like it's freezing, he's trying to remember how to be black again. So that's why I was thinking like, oh, I got to hit Bang up. Has everything been clear? Is he no longer, what he used to be?
It is what it is. Look, it is what it is at this point. Look, we saw what happened in the 80s. All right, we saw what some of y'all might be old enough, some of y'all might not. But in the 80s, all them people, they started going on 60 Minutes and talking and everything, and some of them wrote books and prospering. All right, and The Rock. I said, I'm not talking about Dwayne Johnson. All right, I ain't talking about Dwayne Johnson. I'm talking about Rocky Maivia. Now, Dwayne Johnson,
the wrestler of The Rock.
I'm talking about the wrestler Rock. Now, Dwayne Johnson, all right, Dwayne seems to me one of the best people in the world.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, he's my hero. He's my hero.
Right. He like when he started talking about $7, I look in my wallet like, damn, I got 20.
What's stopping you?
What's stopping me? Dwayne Johnson is probably one of 5 people that would actually get me nervous if I met them. Is Dwayne, Ric Flair, and 3 other women. All right,
that I would not be on this show.
The Ric Flair always off quick. The Ric Flair always off quick. After you get a few beers with him, it's like, oh yeah, nah, this is
that's what I'm saying. Like,
just a nigga named Richard, bro.
Right, this nigga named Richard. Right, but when you meet him, like I lived in Atlanta for a time, and I worked at a Best Buy in Alpharetta. And all of the celebrities used to come in at Best Buy, and I was like, yeah, ain't nobody gonna make me nervous unless Ric Flair come up here, because I might lose my job, because I might go woo and all of those things. But I figure after a beer and a shot, we good. But like when you saw Deion Sanders, when y'all saw Deion Sanders when the man came, oh my God, it's The Rock, my God, it's like Jesus. He's the second coming.
Though, man, like The Rock and Deion Sanders both operate in a special level of black households. Yeah, that these are 2 people that have been prominent in my household and many black households for the better part of the last 3 decades, right? Like as players off the field, on the field, they back at it again. Like, if you take a Venn diagram of people on TV that I was influenced by, The Rock and Deion Sanders take up a large part of that pie chart. So when they see each other, you know what I mean? And the fact that the stars sort of aligned for him to come back and have that big return last week in Colorado, man, like it just speaks to both of their star power as far as that concerned. We're talking about Dwayne Johnson. Now, The Rock, on the other hand, as far as being COINTELPRO, I mean, You put together some very compelling evidence. I must say, I ain't gonna hold you. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, damn, that's exactly what happened. I mean, but D'Lo had both the belts at one time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but he was from Cass. He was from when
D'Lo popped off afterwards. You know?
I look, you're right, but see, here's the thing, and I be going on random Peacock WWE Network runs while I'm just watching Raw. And I was like, what? And one day it just popped in my head. When did he become from Istanbul, Turkey, fam? Like, when did he become from Portugal? Like, when did, and I hit my man, and shouts out to my man Kemp from the Port, first black champ. I hit him, was like, yo,
ain't he from,
when did he, like, he's from the crib, slated from the crib. Like, when did this happen? He was like, he won the European Championship. And I said, goddamn.
That's wild,
and that's when I started going down the rabbit hole, and it was like, wait a minute. Godfather went from Papa Shango to Kama Mustafa to a pimp. Come on, y'all. Come on. Only thing he didn't do was sell heroin, but he was a pimp. He sold hoes. And then Mark Henry just started wanting pussy. Like, look, the man, and none of that happened until Farouk get jumped out the group. None of that happened. And even with Farouk, what happens with some of these leaders that get kicked out of these groups? They turn to drugs and start doing some crazy shit. Farouk turned to a coat. Cointel Pro, y'all. He turned to a coat.
Farouk, but here's the thing though, like afterwards, Farouk met a white dude. He was cool with it. They started a very profitable business, just beating people up. You know what I mean? He didn't really have to hurt nobody. A successful black business, right? Like, come on, man. Like,
he learned that white people is just okay as everybody else. Watch Malcolm X. When he went to the pilgrimage, you watch Malcolm X, he was like, yo, it's white people out here praying too. He went back to America, was like, no way, white people ain't all that bad. It's a bad one. White people ain't all that bad. I'm telling y'all, but I do got a wrestling question for you, Kaz.
Yeah, what's up?
And it's really mainly because all of the releases that's happened. You got the TKO group thing that's happened. So Vince McMahon, for the first time and forever, is not the sole owner for the of the corporation. Like, how is the mood with now Ari Emanuel, who we all know is Rom's brother? So Chicago is not necessarily
Ari Gold if you are a big
or Ari Gold
fan like myself. Yes.
Like, what's the mood in the WWE right now? Like, do people feel like this is really like a new start or whatever? Like, you know, how is it over there?
I mean, I got a lot of friends back there as far as, you know, being on talent or, you know, putting the show together and whatnot. So it would be unfair for me to really answer that question at this moment, right? Like, they just had a bunch of layoffs in the past 2 weeks. You know, obviously, no matter if you're affected or not affected by it, you can imagine what it's like to be somewhere and you're working with somebody and you don't see them every day anymore. So I'm sure it's a little tepid right now, but I could only assume, right? I'm in a privileged position where I could pull up and do some stuff for the network, do some stuff for NXT, do some stuff here and there. But, you know, just knowing people back there, I just feel like there is a whole lot of new opportunity with this new merger that was put forth. I feel like we're seeing a lot of talent acquisitions possibly happening. I feel like there's going to be a lot of just new coats of paint painted on, you know, what we see as WWE right now, because, you know, despite all the stuff we just talked about, it feels like they're kind of having a banner year right now. I mean, this between, you know, the storyline with Roman Reigns having, you know, one of the longest championship reigns of all time, to Cody Rhodes becoming a megastar and Bianca Belair becoming a megastar. And, you know, you see all these records that they're breaking and the ratings doing as well as they've been. You could only assume that it's going to be more of an upward trajectory for the WWE specifically, you know, as far as entertainment is concerned, because we're going to feel it in the next few months when the writer's strike is happening and some of your favorite shows aren't on TV in the fall because, you know, there hasn't been anything that's been greenlit or produced. And I feel like outside of football and outside of sports, I feel like, you know, WWE and UFC are in a unique position to really corner the market as far as, you know, the entertainment dollar is concerned. So As far as how it is over there, you can feel like the energy that they're kind of gaining in the past several weeks is gonna end up in some really big stuff, right? The Rock coming back, John Cena not just coming back for a one-off, but being involved in storylines once again. I mean, they're selling out these massive stadiums all over the world for these premium live events, and I think the best part about it is they're creating new stars, right? Like people like Dominic Mysterio, who wasn't really much of anybody 2 or 3 years ago, is now probably the biggest bad guy in the company. Judgment Day's doing their thing. Jey Uso, who, the entire bloodline was the headline and act at Wale Mania this year, and seeing just the growth that they've had from the night before WrestleMania weekend into now when they're all sort of like stars on their own, it just kind of goes to show how poppin' WWE is and the growth that they're going to come. And it feels like that merge is only going to help accelerate that growth.
Now, we don't want to keep it too long. I know Dante, Damon, do y'all have any questions for Kaz?
Yeah, I do. Kaz, what's up, bro? I've been following you for a while, and like when I first got introduced to you, it was more so when you were doing hip hop journalism. What was the process of making that switch into WWE, and what were some of the highlights during your time working with them?
I mean, I broke in as an intern at the Source magazine when I was still in college, and I ended up being a online editor, music editor there for about 4 or 5 years. Did some stuff with the Hip Hop Wired, and then created Stashed with Steve Stout over at Translation, and ran that for about 4 to 5 years. Did some stuff with Bleacher Report, Uninterrupted, but I always felt like when I was doing hip hop journalism, I always did it from a place of genuine love for the artists and the music that's being made. And just being completely honest, man, it feels like, and I think the industry kind of spoke for us. Music journalism is a young man's game, point blank, period, right? Like you're not going to be able to. I couldn't see myself going to SOBs every night trying to find the next MC if I wasn't really listening to their music like that to begin with, right? Like the reason why I got on because most of these people that I wanted to cover were people I was truly fans of and people I really enjoyed the music, the Wale's, the Drakes, the Coles, the Wizzes, Big Sean's, Kendricks, all those guys. Those are dudes that were all coming up during the blog era and people that I were legitimately fans of who have now become megastars to this day. I would say like the transition into sports though was kind of something I've always wanted to do, though, because even while I was at the Source magazine and doing all the hip-hop journalism stuff, I was always their go-to guy for anything sports-related. So if we had Carmelo Anthony or Dwayne Wade or, like, any LeBron, anybody that was coming through, I would be the first guy to kind of, do the story or be tapped to do the feature or the cover or anything like that. So, I'm a journalism major, right? And as much as I loved doing music journalism, sports journalism was always super near and dear to my heart, especially with the NBA. The way the WWE thing kind of happened was just sort of happenstance, though, right? Like it was, okay. I was literally in between Uninterrupted. I was hosting the show for Uninterrupted when they had to deal with Spotify, and I was just like, I saw that WWE was hiring like a digital content creator, right? So I'm thinking I'm gonna go there and just do what I did at like Bleacher Report or Source or Hip Hop Wire, just do wrestling content for WWE. Luckily, their recruiter was like, we Googled you and we found like, I had a wrestling podcast. I did all this work with like guys like folks from the New Day, and we was doing Wale Mania already. So they was just like, yeah, we could hire you for this digital content thing, but is there anything in WWE that you would like want to do? That she flat out asked me that. I was like, 2 things. I mean, I'd love to be like an on-air talent, or I'd love to help create the show or help write it, whatever. And they were like, great, come to Stanford. We're going to interview you. And then, we'll see how it goes. The first interview I had was with on TV. He was Rajan Singh. He was the Great Khali's manager, but he was also the head writer of Monday Night Raw. And it was kind of threw me for a loop because, he was like his translator. And then when he comes up to me, he talks like a dude from California. I'm like, oh, shit. So, but he was hella cool, man. And, he kind of put me on game. And then, like, my second interview was with the Road Dogg, Jesse James. And then I'm sitting there just talking to him while he's interviewing me for this writing position. I'm just like, bro, I got the attention literally because of you. Like as in the 5th grade, like I was, oh, you didn't know. Like I knew the whole deal. Like every time he came on, so that was just an incredible experience because it wasn't something I was looking for, but because they knew I had a passion for the industry already, and I already had some media experience, and I've worked with I had just finished doing No Script with Marshawn Lynch for Bleacher Report and Facebook Watch, so I was working and doing TV stuff, and I did some stuff with MTV2 and Charlemagne and all his other shows as well. So I wanted to get back into doing more TV production, and WWE is way different than doing anything other for TV because you're basically living like a wrestler, right? Like you're traveling with them, you're in the meetings all day long, you're doing rehearsals with them, you're on headset. Like it is one of the most high pressure, underrated jobs in entertainment, being a WWE writer, because it's an industry where you got to pretend that it's really happening, but it's really a team of people whose sole job is to get you over and get that chemistry popping on camera. But it's almost like a magic trick. Like they don't exist. Like they live in the shadows type shit. But it's such a hard job to do because you're not just writing scripts. Like you're basically like Nick Saban out there, right? Like when you throw the headset on and you're sitting at gorilla position, and Vince McMahon and Triple H are to your right, and Michael Cole's to your left, and you got their team of producers who are just like wrestling legends. So I'm just sitting here with like Arn Anderson and Billy Kidman and Dean Malenko and like dudes I grew up watching that are producing these matches. So like going in there as a TV, working in TV is one thing, but going there working in TV and being a fan of this stuff kind of gave me a whole different level of appreciation for what they did every single week. So it was something that really was I'll always say one of the most enjoyable life learning experiences of my life, just being on the road with the WWE and leaving a good impact on them, where I still work with them to this day as an on-air talent for a lot of their stuff. But it's incredible. I know that I'm very fortunate that I get to do a lot of stuff that people would do for free. But I always say to anybody who ever wants kind of following that path that, a lot of times your dream jobs isn't something that's going to be in a LinkedIn link or on the back of a whatever on the listing. People still do job listings, whatever that shit in the newspaper. It ain't going to be there. Like, especially in the 2020s, you got to create that thing. And a lot of times as you're creating it, opportunities are going to come to your lap where it's like, well, I didn't think I'd be able to do this, but hell yeah, why not? So it's been an incredible journey. It's been an incredible transition, and I love being able to look back at that and still implement the lessons I learned during that time to things I do right now.
Damon, you got something for Cass before we get up out of here?
No, I don't got shit. Like, I just want to say, like,
I don't know why.
That's really dope.
I don't even know why I asked it.
I just want to say that's a really dope, like, career journey, like, to get to where you are. I think that's unique because I never heard of no one that's actually, like, involved in WWE, like, as deep as that. So that's really dope. And I just want to say, keep doing your thing, man. I'm proud.
Hey, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. It's gonna be right now, obviously you can catch me on PointsBet. Download the app, Fanatics Experience. With White Diddy now, Michael Rubin. So things have been. Have
you been invited to the white party? Have you been invited to the white party yet?
So peep game, right? Like, the white party like invites. I mean, the white party like video drops literally the day before. The deal is done, right? Like, right. So he puts up, I think, 225 million to buy PointsBet, and the day after, you see all this drone footage that looks like, the Oscars, but for sports or whatever. But it's really dope, bro. Like, he isn't just, I haven't got to meet him. I haven't got to meet Ruben yet, but we've worked in similar circles, and I'm just honored to, hopefully be a part of what is growing in the Fanatics empire.
Definitely.
as far as everything that's going on there. So please watch my show Count It on PointsBet Fanatics Experience. You catch me at MSG Networks this season doing all stuff Knicks with the team over there. You can catch me on WWE Ultimate on Peacock before and after every WWE Premium Live event. You catch me on WWE This Is Awesome. You catch me on the Masked Man Show, The Ring of Wrestling on Spotify. And Bill Simmons is helipad over there, and Say Less with Kaz, Loki, and Rosie coming back this October, filming episodes now. Staying busy, staying working, and I appreciate everything you guys are building over here too, man. Like Scott,
appreciate you, bro.
JR, I've followed y'all for a minute. I love seeing the growth. I love seeing y'all up in the mix, really breaking big NFL news. Like, and I remember we was, back in Chicago covering like LEP Bogus Boys, like years ago. Long time ago. So Bibby and them. So it's great to see the growth from from you guys, and much success. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey man, thank you for joining us, G. Much success to everything you were doing, man. We definitely got to get you back on, man. We appreciate you, bro.
All right, y'all take it easy, man. Have a good one.